intend to address my remarks to the issue of medical isotopes. I'm very grateful to the Noble Lord the Minister for talking about that subject so fully in his introduction to the debate. And like all of your lordships, of course, it goes without saying that I trust implicitly the integrity of the Minister and his intentions. I do, however, my lords, have some misgivings about the lexicon that he's been given, which led to him using those words in his opening remarks. Having said that, can I express my thanks to the Minister and to his colleague in the other place, and also to the Bill team who've been worked very hard to inform noble lords on the subject of this bill. I've heard more often than I can remember what is merely a mantra, that this bill is about nuclear safeguards, not about nuclear safety. My lords, if you say it often enough, you may well come to believe it, but I suspect we'd all believe something quite different when we came to believe it. I understand that the reasons for that distinction, it is of course entirely political, because it gives the government the excuse for leaving a significant section of the industry out of this bill. But it is no more, I'm afraid, than a semantic explanation. And indeed, I'm sure that the distinction would be totally lost on the broader public. If, for example, there was a significant detriment caused to staff and patients in a hospital because of a problem with radiopharmaceuticals brought into the hospital from a European Union country, I doubt that the distinction that we've been given would be regarded as mitigation in the public inquiry that would ensue following such an accident. Concern has been expressed strongly, and I share it, among professionals, including the Society for Radiological Protection, the SRP, of which I have the honour of being patron. And they say that the supply of imported radiopharmaceuticals is implicitly part of the Euratom arrangements which have been reached over years, as I shall explain. I'm advised that those isotopes which are used for the treatment of cancer are not produced in the UK at present. That means that we rely on imports from the European Union and elsewhere. The Noble Lord the Minister, I think, mentioned South Africa. My understanding is that the supply from South Africa currently is not available because of safety issues in South Africa, though there are supplies being brought in from Australia and America, as well as the EU. But the important point is that those products have a half-life of around 3 days. What that means, as your lordships will know, is that the effective radioactivity in the product falls by a half in about 3 days. And as a consequence, the effectiveness of the medication that is intended is reduced and indeed destroyed in many cases. The industry believes, and I support them, that the continued availability of such medical isotopes in best condition should be encompassed in this bill. It is just not good enough to say this will be part of the broader negotiations of the UK's future relationship with the European Union. That is uncertainty on toast, and it's not acceptable. And indeed, although the Minister has said, and I've heard this in meetings, that this issue has nothing to do with the bill before us, I am told and accept that it does. For example, my lords, the shipment of isotopes falls within Council Regulation, open brackets, Euratom, close brackets, number 1493 of 1993, as amended. It's still in force as amended. And this regulation is designed to safeguard health workers and the general public against ionising radiation. And indeed, that is stated as its purpose in the recital of the regulation I've referred to. Whereas that regulation recognises the removal of border controls within the EU to protect the public, including those who receive medical isotopes, it provides a notification system. That notification system, my lords, has become not merely a safeguarding system, but one that has been used to ensure the regular and steady supply of fresh medical isotopes. It provides for the safe and speedy transfer of the products concerned. It involves so-called competent authorities in each country. In the UK, the main authority is the Office for Nuclear Regulation, which devolves responsibilities to others, such as the Environment Agency, and importantly, its counterparts in Scotland and Wales. There is actually a devolution issue concerned here too, though that seems to have been overlooked. The government says that this matter, this part of Euratom's statutory activity, can be consigned to those later and general negotiations about the transfer of goods and services between the UK and the EU, the same category as, for example, the importation of processed croque monsieur into the United Kingdom. I don't accept that. It's much too important, because that promise, if it be a promise, provides no assurance whatsoever for continuity. Indeed, it raises the prospect of UK patients, if they can afford it, having to travel for this kind of treatment to France and Germany, where such isotopes are manufactured, and I suppose it provides the insurance industry with a potential bonanza, cashing in on a new form of insurance that enables those who take private medical insurance to be able to buy treatment in countries abroad as part of their policy. My Lords, major suppliers of radiopharmaceuticals in the European Union have confirmed that the current arrangements, which are made, so they tell us, via Euratom, ensure the timely supply of material from the point of manufacture to patients in the UK. And this includes such urgency that the product can be delivered and then reporting arrangements can be used retrospectively in cases of urgency. It's a very important part of medical treatment. There is also, my Lords, the issue of resilience of supply of medical isotopes. The UK, due to the work of the European Observatory, is in a better position to be able to rely on a fair share of radiopharmaceuticals from Europe without fear of loss of supply. The continuation of these advantageous arrangements, which benefit hospitals like the Royal Free, University College Hospital London, and other places where important cancer treatments are carried out and clinical trials are being performed, the continuation of those advantageous arrangements is critical for such places, given, as I said earlier, that we manufacture none in the UK, and that suppliers in South Africa, as I said earlier, and also in Canada, have major production issues. Also, there are issues that really worry the industry around three other matters that I want to mention very briefly. One is the UK participation in future Euratom research projects, which engage British academics and others, and the potential uncertainty of UK participation in such research projects will either reduce UK-based expertise or worse, drive most nuclear physicists to go and work in other countries. Secondly, there is the designation of professionals as medical physicists. The recognised standards entitling scientists to be designated as medical physicists are arranged under the umbrella of Euratom, with a requirement for all relevant clinics to employ such a person. And the third point I wanted to mention briefly is standard designations. There are standard designations applied to medical isotopes just as they're applied to any other goods, and those are currently agreed on an EU basis, which is based on conversations within Euratom. My Lords, there's an overwhelming case for provision in this bill for the medical isotope matters to be the subject of assurance for the future. and I suggest that they should be included, and I look forward to debates in committee on that subject.